Nous ne pouvons pas accepter dans notre pays des femmes, prisonnières derrière un grillage, coupées de toute vie sociale, privées de toute identité. Ce n'est pas l'idée que la République française se fait de la dignité de la femme.
We now have a situation, and this is a personal view, where people who can walk into a bank or any other secure area in a burqa and remain unquestioned about it.
And now, the presenter of Insight, Jenny Brockie.
Hi, thanks for joining us. Last week, the French Senate decided to ban the wearing of face coverings in public. It follows similar moves in other European countries and cities. The vote in France was overwhelming. Of 343 senators, 246 voted in favour of the ban, only one voted against, and the rest abstained. There have been calls here too for a banning of the burqa, with private members' bills being introduced in 2 states, but they're not gaining much political traction. Both the Prime Minister and the opposition leader described the burqa as confronting, though they've ruled out a ban. So let's talk about why people find the burqa confronting and why France is taking such a strong position. You can join in, as always, via Facebook and Twitter, and I think a pretty fierce debate is underway on Facebook already, so do join in if you can, and tweet to us as well. Let's go to Paris first. Jacques Millard in Paris, you're a member of the French government. You've been a key figure in pushing for this ban in France. What are the penalties going to be for wearing the burqa or the niqab, or for making someone wear it in a public place in France in the future?
First of all, I'm a member of the National Assembly, not the government, even if I push, it is true, to have such a ban in France. I was the first one to propose the ban in 2006. At the time, you know, I did not get much support. But to face a mounting phenomenon, the President, as we have seen in the beginning of this broadcast, has said that the burqa or the niqab are not welcome in France. I think this violates our, let's say, deep soul as behavior in our republic. We are a secular state, and I will see many reasons to ban it. First of all, equality of sex. I can't understand why men, only women, will wear such clothes. Secondly, this is dignity of women. Thirdly, of course, there is a question of security. But you know, I think that in our history, never we had people hiding their face behind something, a cloth. As Madame Banater, who is a feminist supporter, you know, she has been combating for years and years for equality of sex, and she said to us in the mission, when we studied the phenomenon, that never in our history, and this is true, in Europe, in France, there has been a cloth for your face. And I will tell you something. I think when some people say we are stigmatizing a religion, we are stigmatizing women who are wearing such clothes, I'm sorry, I am the victim. I am the victim because those people refuse me to see their face, to communicate with them. And I think this violates the common will to live together, especially in our society where women are on equal footing to men in every sphere of the Republic.
All right, I'm going to come back to the question I asked you about penalties in a moment, but before I do, I'd like to talk to some of our guests here. Amina, you're 22. You wear the burqa here in Australia. Do you understand how a Western country could see it as a symbol of inequality, that women are being forced to cover their faces?
It's not for the West or anyone else, for that matter, to decide what's inequality. Our religion has given us equality. It's not for him or Cory Bernardi or Fred Nile to tell us we are oppressed or wrong is being done to us. We chose to wear this. So no, I don't understand where the West is coming from.
Okay, you only decided to wear it a year ago though, didn't you?
Slightly more than a year.
Okay, why?
Because it's in submission to Allah the Creator and to emulate, to copycat the wives of the Prophet. They also wore it.
So, religious reasons? I mean, what are the other reasons that you wear it?
There is no other reason, actually. I wore it simply and only because I believe it's the right thing to do. It's an act of worship. It's in submission to Allah, and it's emulating the wives of the Prophet and the female companions that were around at that time.
I know, Ahmed, you had reservations about Amina wearing it, though. You didn't particularly want her to, did you?
No, I did.
You
Actually,
did?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I thought you weren't so sure.
No, I was sure, yeah. When I went to see her in marriage, she told me that this is what I wear, and you know, I wear the burqa, and I asked her, do you always wear the burqa, or are you just wearing it now, you know what I mean, maybe from shyness? No, she said she always wears the burqa. And that was like a condition for her, and that's what I was looking for as well in marriage. A girl with that wears the burqa.
Okay, I think
so we agreed on that.
I think your brother was the one with reservations,
That's
yes?
right.
Was the brother?
Yes, yes. And what were your reservations?
Now, the thing is, it's not up to me or up to anyone else to decide on this matter. It's up to her to decide. Now, we just voiced our opinion for his own safety. Now, because we are kind of worried about his safety in this country, and it happened to be that we feel like there's, at the moment there is, and everyone will agree on this, that there is a hostility towards Muslims in particular. Now, Muslims are being picked on because of their holy book, because of their religion, because of, now we're talking about the way their women are dressed up.
So
now,
you were worried it would single her out?
It singles her out, and she'll be picked on just because the way she's dressed up.
Okay, Tariq Ramadan in Doha, welcome. Thank you for joining us. You're an Islamic scholar. You were advising French lawmakers against a ban on the burqa. Why?
Look, because I think that whatever is your position on this issue, you have to try to find solutions and not to create a problem. Because what Jacques Millard was saying right now is just to speak about some position and forgetting the political context in France. In fact, the reality of it is that this is a pretext for some populist party and even the president to push on the right side of the political spectrum to get more support. And this is only a question for a few hundred women, and they are creating a whole issue, 6 months of discussion on something which is not the essential problem that we have now. My position on this is that as an Islamic scholar, I don't think that this is an Islamic obligation. I think it was only for the Prophet's wife, and this is one position, but I cannot deny the fact that some scholars are thinking that this is the right Islamic position. So with this, it's a religious position. The way I'm dealing with this is quite clear. It's up to the women to decide what they want to do. Now, if we want to find a solution, it's not by banning the woman from being in the street. And if it comes to what is an important point here, is a question of security. No woman wearing the burqa or wearing the niqab, because the right word is niqab, covering the face, would disagree or refuse just to take it off when there is a question of security. It never happens. So they are creating a question of security where there is no problem, and they are trying to use this as something which is a political discussion and creating a kind of a controversy around a symbol which at the end of the day is the real problem. The real problem is this one. The new visibility of Western Muslims in Western society is a problem for some politicians and some trends within the society. And this is what we have to talk about. This new visibility is not a threat for the West.
Okay,
it's just the reality of Muslims living in this country.
Okay, we'll get onto that a little bit later on tonight. But Jacques Millard, just a quick response from you to that.
Well, first of all, you know, this is nothing to do with the extreme right party. This is something which shocked very deeply the French soul, manner, and customs, you know. We experience this as a kind of violation against the common will we have together. Because contrary to what Tariq just said, mosque in France has been admitted since 1920. You know, the Paris Mosque has been built by the French states to thank the Muslims we have been battling during the First World War. And we have many mosques in France, and this is not a question of visibility in the Western world. This is a question of common will to live together according to, let's
in
say,
Algeria
secular
during
rules.
the whole 19th century. Don't tell me that this is the first time you see niqab. There were niqab
Tariq,
in Algeria
please,
under the authority of France. So you are not discovering it now. You are using
Tariq, I'm going to stop you for 1 second. Just let him finish.
Tariq, keep cool, Tariq. We have a long way to go, so keep cool. I would say that first of all, we have many mosques in France. Freedom of religion is absolutely admitted in our country. And as you have said in front of the French parliamentary mission where you came to, you said very clearly that 7 schools in Islam forbid this kind of clothing. First of all, I am not a priest. I am not an imam. I am not a rabbin, and I am implementing the French law on every French citizen.
All right, Jacques, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to have to stop you there because there are a lot of people here who want to speak as well. Ruby, you're one of them, I know. And you're Australian Lebanese. You grew up in a Muslim family. You say you find the burqa confronting, and I want to get on to this idea of it being confronting. Why?
A couple of reasons. First of all, the initial reaction, it is off-putting. I can see you, you can't see me. It makes me feel like I'm on the back foot, and I can understand that this is probably something that a lot of Westerners or Australians who are not from a Lebanese or a Muslim background would feel. And the reason I said I find it confronting as someone who grew up as a Muslim is that this is, even within Islam, is a contentious issue about the burqa, whether it is actually a part of the religion or whether it's a cultural relic.
And how do you see it?
I don't think it's necessarily part of the religion. I think it is a cultural symbol, a cultural practice that was used to keep women out of public life, and I think it's been used it's under the excuse of religion to continue to keep women in a certain position.
And you're very nervous about saying that, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know, when you come from a wall, it's always hard to talk about the culture that you're from. Especially with Islam, it's a very sensitive subject, and I don't want to be seen to adding to the problems of Islam in the West.
Do you see it as oppressing women, though, in the way that Jacques Miar is describing?
I do. I think it's not necessarily in that they've been physically forced to wear it. I think possibly the reasons that they're given, the women that choose to wear it, I think they've been misled into thinking that it's a necessarily part of their religion when it's actually not.
Amina?
First of all, it's not a cultural thing at all. It is a religious thing. If you study the Quran and the Sunnah and the life of the Prophet and his wives, you will find that they wore it. It's clearly in all the authentic books of hadith, it's there. So it's not a cultural thing, it is an Islamic thing. And secondly, why the need for you and Tom and Dick and Harry and everybody else to see my face? It's none of your business. What I look like is my business. Why do you have to see what I look like?
I'm not saying I have to see your face. I was just saying that this is my reaction to it. I'm not saying to insult you with it. She's asked me how I felt, and that was just my... saying it feels like it puts me on the back foot. And I was going to say that's my initial reaction. But, and that's something I try to work through and to understand why you wear it. My intellectual reaction is that as a woman and as a feminist, I'm very well aware of how women have been oppressed and segregated for thousands of years.
Well, we have not been
I bristle at the fact that in the 21st century Australia, women are still being kept out of public life. And I'm sorry, when you're wearing a burqa, you cannot contribute to society as much as you can without it.
I pay my taxes, I work, I study. What more?
Now, not everyone who's not wearing the burqa is actually contributing to the society.
I understand that, but
okay, that's very important.
Okay, one at a time, yes.
A lot of them could be getting oppressed, even not wearing a burqa, and it's got nothing to do with the burqa. When they've picked it themselves to wear it or not, that's their choice.
I understand
Sibel,
that.
I'll come to you in a second.
That's just one way women are oppressed. I'm not saying that that's the only way. It's one way.
All right, Sheikh Omran, I want to bring you in here because you're the leader of an Islamic fundamentalist movement in Victoria. How central do you think the burqa and the niqab are to being a Muslim woman?
First, I am not in Victoria, I am in Australia. Secondly, really, as Mr. Ramadan or Brother Ramadan talked about, this issue been for centuries. The European in particular, maybe Australians are a little bit unaware of it. But the European, they came to our countries, occupied our countries for hundreds of years. We mixed with them for centuries. They know that is